Okay, I just want to double check that everyone can hear me because I don't have any way of checking to hear if myself. So send me a message here on the live chat if you can in fact hear me. Okay, great. Okay, good. Everyone can hear me. Thanks. So it looks like there's something like a 10-second lag, maybe something like that, between what I say and what you hear, and that's based on what I can see on my screen here. So this is the tweet that started this all. I said, does anyone have any code that they'd be willing to have live reviewed on a YouTube stream? And so this is where we are. I am going to start with this project from John, which a lot of you just saw the tweet about. And I'm going to try to monitor the live chat as well so that I can respond to you there as necessary. This is going to be educational, I hope. I have no idea really how this is going to go. I did a little bit of homework first to make sure that I knew what I was talking about. YouTube instead of Twitch, because I have all of my viewers are on YouTube. I don't have anyone on Twitch, so I'm going to stick with YouTube. All right, so this project, this calculator, it's meant to be a toy calculator. No, this is not a game thing. This is a code review thing. Live stream code reviews. You can feel free to join in, though. All right, so this calculator from John here, I just started browsing through it. Oh, it looks like he did a couple of updates since I last looked. And, you know, there's how do you start on a code review is part of the thing. And I'm sorry, I'm just noticing people on the live stream saying, can I send you my code here and now? It'd probably be easiest if you tweet it to me. I might go back and look at this later, but we're going to focus on just this one project right now while I try to figure out what in the world I am doing. And then maybe in the next, next week, maybe next Friday again, I'll do another one of these. So how do you start with a code review? Now, looking at the top level of the project, I might immediately notice that there are not any config files for Travis or AppVeyor or any of the continuous integration systems. So I know that it doesn't have any continuous builds going at the moment. And that would be like the first thing that I would notice is that I would say, okay, having continuous integration is going to be really helpful. And if we dig down into the CMake list file, though, we can see this is actually, it looks like it's a pretty straightforward project with just a couple of subdirectories, and it's using CMake CXX standard, pretty straightforward. And we've got unit test and custom target check. So I guess this would be so that you could type make check, but CMake is already going to give you make test. So that's, a comment here that seems probably unnecessary. And yes, I noticed that also that there is no .clang format. Now, I personally am going to use a Clang format in every project, and I do recommend it, but I'm not going to say that that's, 100% obviously a code smell here. But I totally agree with you, Jason, on that one. Okay, let's start on the test, because there's something that I think that I noticed when I was looking at these tests earlier. So let's just go ahead and dig in on it. I do actually like that he's using relative include paths here, because I find that makes code distribution easier. And what are we using? We're using gtest. Fine. I'm not going to make any comment on that. Now, I notice when I glance through this that so this is a toy calculator. I'm taking 1 plus 2, parse it, execute it. I get 3 back. Okay. 1 times 2 plus 3, get 5 back, and then a list of tokens, and here we go. Expect true, false. So he's not expecting an error to occur when parsing any of this. Is that what I hear? I see. Make checks will build the unit test first due to the dependency. Actually, that's pretty interesting. That's a good point. Okay. Yeah, so this is going to be a team thing here. If I can keep up with the messages on the live stream as well. I might have to change this to a lower latency option. Let me see. No, I cannot change the stream latency at this point. All right. So the main thing that I noticed is we've only got one test here that expects an error. And one of the things that I find hardest to do is to actually write code that looks for the errors that you don't expect to have. So testing for the unexpected is one of the hardest things that we can do. And now I'm going to look at the live chat here. And if you notice, so this is the unit evaluation, unit error or, so this is, I guess, his expected type implementation. So it's going to be an expected value or an error. Considering that this code parses user input, there's one thing that I see that is definitely missing. And I'm curious if anyone on the live stream is going to pick up on this. So I'm going to sit here for a second and see if I see any chat messages. Yes. Fuzz testing. Absolutely. So we know one thing for certain. Without fuzz testing, something that is parsing user input is broken. We just know that it's broken. There is a crash lurking in here somewhere because fuzz testing is absolutely critical to if you're parsing user provided input. Where's OStream? Use a OStream. I don't know what code that was in reference to. If someone wants to send me back a... What is fuzz testing? Okay, so fuzz testing, let's get over there if I can. Sorry, I got my windows screwed up here. All right. I've done a couple of videos around LibFuzz fuzz testing, so that's also on here. But I'm going to pull up the documentation for LibFuzzer because it's probably the easiest to use one. If your project already uses, can already compile with Clang. So you give it a single input entry point, that is this extern-c function, llvm fuzzer test1 input. There is only one possible entry point. And then you give it, it's going to give you a valid pointer to some amount of data. It can be 0 bytes or it can be many bytes. And then you call your function. So in this case, we would want to call the evaluator. No, to answer the mini Miggy question on the live chat, I do plan to just post this as a live episode, as an episode later too. I have no idea how this is going to go. First time experimenting with it. So we need to put in a fuzz tester at some point here because we really need to be testing the fact that this thing parses user input. This is crazy to not have it. So with a fuzz tester, it's going to start out with like 0 bytes of data with a valid pointer. And you try to parse that. And then it's going to actually do I kind of wish I had a video running at the moment, but I don't. It's going to give you... it's going to trace your code and see what code executed with that. And then it's going to give you something with like 1 byte of data and it's going to see what code executed with that. And it's looking for novel code paths for executing your code, what inputs are going to generate novel code execution paths. And then it's going to try to break your code. Basically, it's going to try to execute 100% of your code and eventually break it. Have I given up the game thing? No, I'm still releasing Monday episodes. It's lots of different content on this channel. Okay. So I think it's probably time to dig into the source. And I don't expect us to spend a whole lot of time on this. So, well, yeah, okay, that's a print function. Okay, so say I'm doing a code review. Would anyone comment on this? How do I know he's going to parse user input? Yes, I would say absolutely. If he's still going to be running even from a UI, whatever, he should run it through Fuzzer. Absolutely. Ooh, there's two things we need to look at here. What's this about? I am doing code reviews, live code reviews of this project. I don't have a link to it in here anywhere, do I? Just a second, I'm going to post a link to the actual project. All right. Okay, so couple things. I'm curious if those who are viewing, so I have insert awesome name here saying the ifs always need to have the curly braces. And I always do personally. Should this be a 100% rule? I think by the time you've got 3 levels of indentation, I would absolutely say there should be some braces there here. Oh, interesting. No need to cascade the ifs. That's a good point. This could be made into a single if not has token and the cursor does not equal the end of the token, then increment the cursor. Right, so short circuiting would take care of the issue. I want to go back to the header file for Lexer now that I just saw this, and I should probably open this in C-line or something at one in the future so that we can easily click back and forth. All right, Lexer. Okay, so this has a virtual destructor, which is necessary because we are doing polymorphic behavior and we do have inheritance. Sorry, what is the question from Paco? Pity my question got ignored. How to do code reviews for proprietary code in one-person teams. And one-person teams. Yeah, that's going to be a pain. I don't think I have an answer for that. Although I will say, just as an aside, when I am working on a one-person team, I do my own pull request, and then I review the code, and then I decide that I'm going to merge the pull request. I still try to maintain that level of discipline, even if it's not, even if I don't have other people to look at it, at least I look at it. Devirtualization of vector Lexer by marking it final. We might be able, yes, we could mark it final. Would gain us anything here? I'm not 100% sure. I want to go back to this real quick though, because looking at this destructor, I would do equals default here, personally. And then we have a question. Yes, virtual is okay. Well, I'll get down to Ivan's comment in just a second. So I would do equals default here, and then I'd want to apply the rule of 0. And arguably, since these things have polymorphic behavior, we probably just want to delete the copy constructors, because otherwise we risk slicing or doing something that we don't intend to do here. And then, yes, getting down to Paco's comment. Is that right? No, sorry, not Paco's. Ivan's comment. Virtual is redundant, line 31. Yes. So yeah, virtual is redundant here, and it kind of obscures the meaning here. Now notice that the author did the right thing and did not use virtual in these others. So that's probably just an oversight on this particular line of code, but it is definitely something that Cling Tidy would have commented on. rule of 3, 5, not 0. We can't follow the rule of 0 here because we have to declare the destructor virtual if we are going to use polymorphic behavior in our class here. So we got to do something with this, and then we should, like I said, probably delete the copy constructor and copy assignment. Okay, so all of that came back because I had been staring at the lexer, and the first line of the lexer was this empty destructor. So to me, an empty destructor is always a code smell. Either this thing should have been deleted or defaulted, or it shouldn't exist at all. That's my opinion here on empty destructors. Now, granted, if this were a case where we were using the pimple idiom and we were doing intentional hiding of the implementation of this, we might have to do the destructor defined in the CPP file. Yes, public virtual versus protected non-virtual kind of discussion is an interesting one. I wasn't even thinking about talking about that at all. Let's go back to the lexer. So the argument being that your public interface should be non-virtual, and then these should all be protected member functions. So then you can swap out the interface however you need to. You make the public interface the public thing and the private interface the private thing. Yeah, the destructor could definitely be equals default in the CPP file here. Oh, you know what? Shady Haze here. This is pretty much how my classes go. I go in and out of whatever the students happen to be asking, so I'm pretty used to it. This is basically just what I do. So yeah, be sure to sign up for one of the classes in the link here. I'm hoping that the world will return to normal by September and those classes can move forward. Member variables and vector lexer might be private protected. Strange that they are public. Yes, I'm going to have to agree with that. Let's see. Actually, that raises a different question for me, because this is a vector of token and this is an initializer list of token. So I need to edit this. We should be doing a member initializer here. I'm going to hit the edit button. Oh no, I'm not signed in. I can't do it. Let's do a quick clone of this. Nope, wrong window. All right. Now I know whenever I use Vim live, I get people telling me that I'm using the editor wrong. So just for the record, if you're planning to tell me that I'm using Vim wrong, don't bother, okay? And I'm not using Z shell. I am using Powerline shell for bash. When destructor is default, you cannot put a breakpoint on it without a rebuild. It is inconvenient. I almost never need actually, no, I'm just going to say flat out. And if you are pessimizing your code or making the code worse so that you can put a breakpoint somewhere, I am just generally opposed to that. But more to the point, I cannot even imagine why I would need a breakpoint in the destructor of this class. Yeah, I know I'm using the editor wrong. Thanks, Herman. All right. All right, let's get down to this. Where did that constructor go? Well, that was defined in the header, wasn't it? Now, I do not have this set up to build. As you saw, I just cloned it. But I think we should be doing... this, right? No, I prefer Boatshed. We're gonna say that Vim usage is the ultimate Boatshed. Okay, yeah, I don't see any other comments I need to respond to, I don't think. I haven't really looked at the use of optionals yet. Yeah, so member initializer list, this is always going to be better. We're going to initialize this thing. Now, interestingly, depending on how much information the compiler knows here, it might actually do exactly one allocation on the vector, because if it can see this, which it should be able to since it's defined in the header file, if the list of tokens has 5 elements in it, at compile time, we're going to get an optimization that says, oh, I need to allocate for 5, and then it's going to copy those 5 tokens in. So that's pretty handy. And then I guess since we're doing this, I may as well do this. Equals default. Now we're really going live, aren't we? Where's the other redundant virtual? And all right, we're deleting these because we don't want to accidentally slice with polymorphic behaviors. There's no reason for those to exist. An initializer list passed by, so an initializer list is ultimately just pointers to the beginning and the end of a const array that was created for you by the compiler. So passing this thing by value or by const reference, it's irrelevant. It's just 2 pointers. How does one use Vim wrong? You should go read comments on my earlier videos where I used Vim regularly, and then you know how people can use Vim wrong. Actually, even in the episodes that I've already posted on with CLion, I've gotten comments from people telling me that I am using CLion wrong. So yes, it's how things go. What is slicing? We need to answer what is slicing. I'm going to do that in a Compiler Explorer window. All right, if I've got a struct, now slicing actually can't apply. So it's just moving include. All right, so let's just talk about slicing real quick. I'm going to do this really, really quick. If I have a struct derived D, and I say S equals D, that's sliced. I created a whole new object of type S that takes only the things from S and slices off everything that it was about derive. Yeah, slicing is the loss of the intended polymorphic type when doing assignment or construction. Yes, if the compiler cannot generate the copy, move, assignment, destructor, copy constructor, move constructor, copy assignment, or move assignment, then it will automatically delete them from the derived classes. And similarly, when I make my destructor virtual, it's automatically going to make the destructor for the derived classes virtual as well. Leslie wants me to add a trilling ampersand in the assignment operator. I'm going to ignore Leslie's comment right now because I do not need to get into a discussion about L value and R value overloads. So we're going to ignore that one right now. Would it be better if it takes a vector directly in the constructor instead of initializer list? I think the question is, how do you want it to be constructible? At the moment, it's constructible as just a list of tokens. And if it were to take a vector instead, then it would be constructible like this. So, you know, pick your poison, basically. But it would ultimately result in pretty much the same thing. I do have to comment on the Pragma once. I am not a fan of Pragma once, even though, as you said, all the compilers support it. But there are cases, and I've actually, I don't have links offhand, but there are cases where you actually get an unintended compile error or bug because the compiler can't track Pragma once like you think that it should. And that's why it has never been standardized, because they can't come up with a standard way of saying what exactly does Pragma once mean. Oh, sorry about that, Dex. I just picked a random time to start. Variadic template constructor. A variadic template constructor would end up being, well, let's see what it would look like. Now you all get to review my code as I type as well. Now let's see, we want to do that, and we want to use that. Yeah, I keep saying what is rule of zero. The rule of zero is to avoid defining any of the special member functions. Sorry, I haven't gotten to that yet. So rule of zero, then I wouldn't want to have any of these copy constructor, copy assignment, move constructor, move assignment, or virtual destructor defined at all. So it's the rule of zero is to say avoid defining any of the special member functions if you can. Yeah, Frederico, if I got your name right there. Yeah, late to the chat, const equals 0. Wait, what? Yeah, no, yes. So these are the tales that I've heard, that if you're trying to use Pragma once in a project that has basically, yeah, symlinks, you're going to get in a lot of pain. Oh, yes, those are pure virtual functions. Those are functions that are not defined in, they are declared in the base class, not defined in the base class, although you can actually provide a default implementation for a pure virtual function if you really wanted to. All right. Okay, so I want to get back to this because someone said, what about a variadic constructor, variadic template constructor? Go ahead. I would like the chatters to tell me why this is not a great idea. Or I can even ask you, is this a copy constructor? Is this a move constructor? Like, this is a very painful construct to get correct. We, at the very least, need to make this explicit. And then we have all kinds of problems after that. It's everything at once. Yeah, all right. Yeah, the comments are coming through now. This is not a good idea. It might be a good idea in some situations. In this one, it's not. Yes, you also can't guarantee that T will all be the same. Although we could do something like this if we were able to constrain it with C++ 20. And then at that point, it works. I need to do a C++ weekly episode on this, constraining variadic parameter packs in C++20. Okay. How long have we been going? It can never be a copy and move constructor. It's always a copy and move constructor. Actually, I just realized I truly have no idea how long I've been doing this. All right, I think we've done, let's do this and this and okay, I think we're done here. And so we need to get rid of that. And I think the crowd agreed that we would prefer this version. I can go either way. Oh, thanks for telling me that I've been streaming for 30 minutes. Oh, I did miss that, didn't I? Now, this code is totally valid. Who was that? Who said that? Scorp? Or Paul? Right. It is not my code. It is this code from John, who I just learned lives in my area and does not come to my meetup. Here's that link again. I should have put that in the stream description. Yes. Okay. Should that not be a vector token iterator? Cursor. Should have compiled this code first. Decal type. That's what it is. Yeah, that's fine. Whatever. Decal type of tokes.begin. That's fine. I don't know. That lets him swap out the implementation whenever he wants to. Whatever. Okay. Yeah, I'll do this because of the comment from Dennis. So both of these are totally valid ways of initializing the cursor. Most people don't expect to see this code. Oh, Leslie's telling me that he comes to the Denver functional programming meetup, but not to our C++ meetup. Come on now. All right. John. Can I ask how much templates are too much? I think I use them too much. Well, I don't. It depends on the nature of the code. Ooh, shouldn't it be cbegin? I don't know, honestly, because I don't know how cursor is used. Presumably it is only reading this data. And again, I can't compile it. Yeah, so this, by the way, to finish this up, this is valid code. We can initialize this based on something that's declared before it. Now, just for the record, compilers will also accept this, but this is not valid code. I just got asked if I have an opinion on uppercase members and class names. Can cursor be auto if it's being initialized like that? No, it can't. You cannot use auto in a member variable declaration at all, even in the cases where there's only one possible outcome. That, as far as I know, hasn't been addressed even for C++20. Maybe I didn't see the notification because it's not actually posted as a regular episode. I have no idea, honestly. This is my first try. Okay, What were we talking about? Oh, someone asked if I have an opinion on uppercase members and class names. My only opinion is that you be consistent in your code. This is actually pretty similar to how I personally program, although I tend to do this so that the spell checker can work with it. But you know what? I don't care. Just be consistent. Oh, did I want to talk about why that decal type is a good idea? I think I'm okay with it regardless, because like we said, this is going to be, it's the closest thing we can get to auto, and the author can swap this out if they want to. I just honestly, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, you know, I don't have a problem with it. I don't actually know how this Lexer is using this stuff at all. John can maybe comment here about whether or not making this const would actually work. So one person says that the decal type is too generic for me to read. I don't know. Maybe I write too much generic code. Doesn't have much impact on me. I will say this is a matter of taste, but I just cannot convince myself to put two variable declarations on one line unless I am doing it so that it fits in a tweet. Can I do like a live, why are the attributed capitalized? Oh yeah, some of the variables are capitalized, some of them, yeah, whatever. Consistency. Consistency is all I would say here. I'm not going to go through and change capitalization in this code. Okay, Mist of Shades, I'm curious which line you are referring to. All right, I'll get back to that if I see the message. I refer to the oh yeah. I think but arguably the decal type is simpler. I mean, it's shorter. It has less that you have to reason about. You go, oh, what is the type of this? Oh, it's the type of whatever cbegin happens to be. Yes, I'm going to have to actually agree on this one. Who was it? Tyrannosaur? Tyrannosaur? Don't ask me to pronounce names. And toke, default constructed. There. Oh, this is worth mentioning. Reference members is probably a good idea in general to avoid reference members because they break things like assignability. Now we've already deleted the assignability here. Decal type makes it unclear about the size. Do you know the size of a const iterator? I don't. So yeah, no, I will post it. Underscores as prefix for members is almost always a bad idea because you can T-Rex. All right, very good. So we can almost get it usually great. Goodness gracious, I have a lot of comments coming in now. How many people are viewing this? I might not be able to keep up with it. Oh, it's only 294. You're just being very chatty. Okay, so A reference for a member variable in general is probably not a good idea because it breaks assignability, but we already deleted that. It breaks movability, but we already deleted that. But it also has some weird lifetime rule issues that I am not going to get into here. So I would just suggest that you start thinking about using reference wrapper for your members that are reference-like things. I don't want to go into it right now. Something to think about. Why is the iterator cursor initialized with an iterator from a vector? It could be invalidated. Yeah, that's a good point. And that's where we need to run the Fuzz Tester to see if it's going to be a problem. Probably is a problem somewhere. Okay, I am going to get back into this code. There's something that I specifically wanted to discuss. Oh, that's a good point. All right, now I have to go back into the header file. So, should pop be no discard? That's the question we have to have here. Yes, I'll go ahead and post it as a regular video. Oh, and I see my own live stream clock now. I see that I've been up for 45 minutes now. I'm definitely going to stop after an hour. My voice is getting kind of tired here. So Eric says, no, that pop should not be no discard. Because why? It might be reasonable to pop a token without processing it. Should bool be no empty be no discard? Ooh, James says, yes, pop should definitely be no discard. I'm going to say location should definitely be no discard. Should pop even return a value and peep existed? There's a general rule of thumb that says if you can return a value that doesn't cost you anything extra to return, then you should probably return the value. So I'm okay with it returning something there. Empty should be no discard. Okay, we did that. We did that. Peek should definitely be no discard. No discard is unnecessary for any of these. I would like to refer you to other articles that I don't have links to offhand at this exact moment. But no discard is, the point of it is to tell you, if I were to call empty and not to do anything with its return value, is that a bug in my code? And I think we can all agree that it would be a bug in my code to call empty without handling its return value. That's the point of no discard here. Is this stream a weekly thing? I don't know. We'll see what happens. Why is peek not const? Seems like it should be. Yeah, it's empty is the poster child for no discard. Yeah, you know what? It's kind of fun actually just doing this live. Whatever. Okay, so I think now the problem that we have is none of this is inherited. So we have to go through and do this on all of them. But at least we have rainbow paste. Thank you. Peak has to modify Lexer state to get the next token. Okay, so we can't make peak const. That is the author speaking there, so I am going to accept that. Okay, I'm going to demonstrate for those who are asking questions about no discard. So if I do this, then I don't want to run the compiled output. Okay, if I do this, I get no warnings from the code. And notice I don't even have any warnings enabled at the moment. If I make empty no discard, then I am going to get a warning saying, warning, no discard attribute directive, and I ignored the return value. What I... I'm sorry for that outburst there. I just saw Matt Godbold asking me what compiler I am currently using. I don't know, it's some website that I just found. Okay. So, getting back to this, we have an interesting question. And look at this. We're already 45 minutes into here, and we've barely left one header file at the moment. What are we targeting? Are we targeting C++ 17, C++ 20? What are we targeting? We have to ask that question because, well, all of these functions could actually be const expr in C++ 20. Theoretically. Now, this would work for the vector because the vector can also be const expr in C++ 20. All the things that we're doing are const expr possible. But we cannot do that with the iStream. So the whole interface doesn't probably make sense to make it const expr, but hypothetically we could. Yeah. All right, let's just pretend like this is C++ 17. We're going to try to get back to the CPP file. So I don't feel like I have a ton immediately to say. I want... There's something I did want to hit on before I wrap this up. Here we go. This is the code I wanted to hit on. You're right. The CXX standard is set to C++ 17. Yes, virtual methods can be const expr in C++ 20. So for those of you, I should probably start with a disclaimer here for people that go back to watch this later that you absolutely have to read the live stream at the same time. Otherwise, this is going to be mostly meaningless to you. Please don't pass car to isSpace. Cast it to unsigned car first. This space takes an int, right? An assigned int? Yeah, isSpace takes assigned int, so I don't even know. I guess I'll go back to that real quick. Does it matter? It's going to be cast to the right thing regardless. Yeah. I wondered that as well. Would the while loop be better as a for? But I said I was going to move on to something else, but no, everyone keeps bringing me back to this. And no, we're not going to bother seeing if this compiles at this point. We're too far in. Yes, my phone is buzzing. I think it's all of the tweets that you all are sending me. So, yes, I'm also getting lots of tweets. Sorry about that. To use these functions safely with plain cars or signed cars, the argument should first be converted to unsigned car. Oh, well, alrighty then. Is there an unsigned helper function that would automatically do that for me? Might be. How does one submit a project for code reviews? I don't know. Respond to the Twitter thread. I don't even... At this point, I'm so far beyond... Yes, sorry, that is definitely a for loop at this point, not a while loop. What is this code about? It is a simple toy calculator that was submitted by John here, who's in the live stream as well. Okay, I am absolutely going to look at the other thing that I wanted to mention before we leave this code, and it is this right here. We have to deal with this switch case. How about auto everywhere? I don't think there's, well, yes, there's probably more cases for auto. Wait, I missed a question. How does one submit? Oh, yes, sorry. So I just tweeted the tweet. Just respond on there, developer Paul123, and I'll just, I'm going to pull up things that I think make sense to pull up. Pre-increment, not post. Yes, I tried to ignore that. Okay, fall through. No, I'm okay with the fall through because this is clearly intentional. If it's a number, then do this thing and return. Otherwise, do this and return. This built-in unreachable. Okay. I want to go to this built-in unreachable. I'm going to add a couple of spaces here. This is code that I have really struggled with. Why not break instead of... I'm okay with return. Early return's better. Often. Yeah, we can blame Dennis Ritchie or something for the design of isSpace, probably. It's probably a 40-year-old, 50-year-old function at this point. Okay, so this one bothers me. This built-in unreachable, both of the built-in unreachables, as far else as we can tell from everything we looked at, this could have been portable code. But then we add built-in unreachable. And that is breaks the portability of it because this is only GCC or Clang. We can't use Visual Studio, or maybe, I don't know if Intel's compiler supports built-in unreachable. But we also have the question of what happens if this does fall through? What happens if we add a new case to the token? Now, or if someone passes in a bad token to us? Return 0 here, return a null pointer. Ooh. I would argue this should be StringView instead of const char star, which would also work just fine here. And this function then can be const expr as well. Replace case token. So this one, replace this with, I want to address this. One of the people on the stream said, do this, make this the default. This is actually probably a really bad idea because if we add new tokens here, we'll never get a compiler warning from it. Why not? So if we, yeah, that's what I'm trying to. So a couple of people have gone through here saying, if we make a default case here, we're gonna break our ability to handle the case when we've expended this, because the compiler's never gonna warn us. If we add new tokens, we're always just gonna get no warnings back. There isn't a compiler warning that can catch it. Yeah, because we gave it a default case. So we want to stick with this, but we want to deal with the fact that, you know, it's still theoretically possible to fall through here. I actually did like a pretty long talk that involved a lot of this stuff at CBPCon a couple years ago. So, I mean, we could return an empty string. We could return a unhandled. We could see assert, but if we do see assert, then we're gonna or assert, then we're going to get different behavior between release and debug. We could throw an exception. All of them are all possible. Optional StringView. There's simply no reason to create a string here. StringView is going to be lighter weight. This code could be moved to constexpr if we wanted it to be. It's going to be more optimizable code, and it's going to work exactly how we want it to because these are compile time character literals. Yes, I do want the code to not compile if I forget a case, so that's why I'm going to leave out the default. And I may have been mixing up a couple of the comments here. All right, I think it is time for me to shut this down. I think we've done about as much damage as we could in 58 minutes. So thank you, everyone, for coming on and chatting along with me. Yeah, and error handling will still be here next week. Yeah, we could make it an optional string view. Then we have to check the return value from toString to make sure that it's a valid string view before we try to print the thing out. It's a whole can of worms. Yeah, I'll try to do it again next Friday. We'll see what happens. It's approximately lunchtime in my time zone. And yes, all of these functions could have been no except at the moment. Well, not all of them. Several of them could have been. This could be no except. The lexer. Actually, most of the lexer can be constexpr and no except, probably. All right. Thanks, everyone, and thanks for joining me. Signing off. Don't worry about it. I'll post it as a regular episode. You can watch it.